to get this done ASAP here, if we can. Oh my god, my ears, my ears, my ears, my ears, my ears. I'll be back.
Yeah. Oh, oh yeah. Yes, yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
Oh, would you look at that? Time for your daily word. The word of the day is Dick. Dick is a nickname most often for Richard, which likely originated in the Middle Ages as rhyming slang for Rick, similarly to the development of William Will Bill and Robert Rob Bob. Dick is a cliché name for any man, as in Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Y'all ready? It's time. It's time, boys. Is it this one? No. What the fuck? What is it, chips this time? I do have chips, but they're like old now. They're like 3 days old now. Yeah, nah, bro. I ain't eating 3-day-old chips. Fuck that. I don't know what to do. My name is Ichiro Maebara, and I'm hopelessly lost. I came to Hinamizawa on a tour to find a lot for a vacation home. When the realtor finished explaining some details, he told us to take a walk until the departure time. Such a beautiful scenery and fresh air. I let my senses guide me, and here I am. Where am I? I still have a little time before the departure, but I'm completely lost. This is basically the middle of nowhere, but people actually do live here. If I keep walking, I should run into somebody, then I can ask for directions. Don't worry, ha. The only thing I need to keep in mind is the departure time for the bullet train. But the more time passes, the more I start to think I was being too optimistic about running into somebody, because I can't find anybody at all. Maybe I'm walking farther and further away from where people are, in which case I'm in serious trouble. So upon hearing someone's voice, I feel immensely relieved. It sounds like little girls are playing nearby. If it's a place where little kids can play, it must be a safe village. I followed those voices. Upon rounding the wild pampas grass, I can see a beautiful field. Oh my god, new artwork. Two girls are playing there. They're dancing in the field filled with blooming wild flowers. What I'm seeing is more beautiful than all the great works of art I've ever seen put together. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but this looks holier than any religious painting. Why is it that seeing innocent girls dance around like this makes people feel this way? It's probably because we're sinners. You can't live with pleasure and glory alone. We sin even as we live. That's why we feel awed by the sight of innocence. It reminds us of the time when we were pure. We grow up naturally and we lose innocence as we do. And we admire and adore the children who symbolize that which we've lost.
とかなんとか小難しいことを言いながら変な不審者が僕たちをじっと見ていますのです。はあ。
Wait.
リカ、あれは不審者ではありませんのです。
Now surely Satoko's there. Eh? Sorry, I'm not suspicious. Wahaha.
とか言いながら僕のお胸やお足から目が離せないのです。
Keiichi's dad!
ニパ
No, I'm not. Don't turn me in. I really wasn't staring. I was using this mirror to fix my hair.
何言ってるかわかんないのですが、とっても面白いことを言っている気がしますのです。なんというか、血は争えないという気がしますです。
How'd they know? The girls teased me for a while, and when they got tired of doing that, they went back to dancing around, realizing that whatever— Wait, how can he see Hanyu? Keiichi's dad's delusional? Honestly makes sense. He draws like fucking hentai, so, I mean... realizing that whatever I said would backfire, I decided to leave them alone and sat down to watch them play. I wonder how old they are. They seem rather young, but maybe they could be close to Keiichi's age. If we move here, Keiichi might meet them at school. If he would see them at school, then they were girls that lived here. If all the children in Himizawa are like them, then even if living a rural life may have some challenges, there's a good reason for us to move here. We're not very good parents. We didn't understand what Keiichi was going through and left him alone until the very end. According to the parenting book I bought, the first few problems are calls for help. It doesn't matter what the action itself is, but the fact that those actions are occurring is a primitive appeal from the child seeking communication. Humans can speak, and that's one of the reasons why we don't notice such signs. We can only hear words through our ears, and we can't sense the signs coming from our son's heart. Keiichi probably thinks it's all his fault. Of course, he's not absent of blame. Humans aren't dogs or cats. We should know what's right and what's wrong. But it's our fault too, as his parents. To let him think that he had to go that far for us to be able to understand him is really pathetic and disappointing of us. If we had understood him and hadn't cornered him, Keiichi wouldn't have done that. So the incidents weren't only Keiichi's fault. Everyone in the Maebara family was to blame. I want to explain that to him, but he's still too young and hot-headed to be able to understand. Right now, the guilt he's feeling is basically crushing him under its weight. He doesn't even have the will to live. My wife is the same. She's blaming herself for forcing him to study for better grades. She thinks that's why the incident took place. And I'm no different. I'm blaming myself for not being involved in my son's education. I think that's why the incident took place. The cross will be forever on her shoulders, even after the injured child accepts her apologies. Yet our cold society will tell us to die under the weight of that cross. Even so, we have to live. We have to accept our sins and carry our burdens on our shoulders. Maybe we can start a new life here in this village. I thought about all that as I watched the girls dance. Keiichi needs friends like them. Friends like those girls will offer him so much more than the friends who only talked about cram school and exam results. The girls are playing near a sign that doesn't fit into this open field. It's a sign about lots for sale, and the name of the realtor who brought me here for the tour is written on it. Does that mean we can live even in this beautiful area if we want to? One of the girls spoke as if reading my mind.
ここはいい村なのですよ。きっと都会にはなかったものがあるのです。
Yeah, that's right. I think so too.
でもこの村にないものをきっと都会のあなたが持ってきてくれる気がするのです。
Do we have anything?
ありますのですよ。僕たちはこの村で何百年間もこうしています。そこには誰も訪れず何も起こりませんです。だから何も起きないし何も変えられない。
Isn't that what's good about this place?
何かを変わりたいと思うからこの村に来たのじゃないのですか？
Yeah, you're right about that.
僕たちも新しい人を迎えたい。それは例えるなら水の流れ出ぬ沼の堰を破るようなもの。水は出入りがあるからこそ清水となる。確かにこの村は明治のついこの間まで沼の名前がついた村でしたのです。でもそれが変わりひなみ沢という地名に変わりましたのです。沼の水は流れずよどむ。でも沢の水はよどまない。
それにね、あなたたちが教えてくれるのよ。堰は破れるものだ、破るものだってね。
Are they playing riddles with me? I had no idea what they're trying to say. But there's one thing I know. The villagers are waiting for new people to come here, and they want to build a future with those newcomers. I looked at the sign behind the girls one more time, so that I'd remember this place. I'd already decided.
引っ越してくるのを待っていますですよ、前原。
ああ、いたいた。お客さん、こんな遠くまで行っちゃダメですよ。
A raspy voice from the distance ended this innocent moment. It's the realtor. I guess he's been looking for me because I didn't return. Sorry about that. I got lost. I apologized while scratching my head. I turned around to look for the girls, but they weren't there anymore. How does Keiichi's dad actually see Hanyu, though? Like, all jokes aside. I thought you needed to be at a certain delusion level. Or, L level. Huh.
これが学校なのか
Oh
よ。
my god, it's Keiichi.
すげえな。さすが田舎だな。
Keiichi, don't say stuff like that. The people in this area love coming here. That was my first impression of the Hinamizawa branch school. By the way, Keiichi's dad had voiceover in all the other chapters. The fuck happened, huh? Huh. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't look like a school at all. It even has a sign that says Hinamizawa Forestry Service.
まあ確かに我が校は営林署さんの敷地をお借りしておりますからの。
Said the man they called the principal as he laughed heartily.
学び屋は違っても学校であることは同じです。前原くんがこれまで通われていた学校とはいろいろルールが違うと思いますが、大丈夫ですか？
はい。
I heard all the grades are put in the same classroom at this school. I didn't believe it, but I think it really is true. They're all younger than I am, so I guess it'll be like kindergarten. Though it'll be interesting compared to my previous school where everyone looked the same
前
age.
原くんが転校してきたら男子の中では最年長になると思います。ですので自分の勉強だけでなく下級生たちの模範になるよう示さなければなりません。下級生は上級生の悪い癖をすぐに真似します。先生もそこは厳しく注意していますから、前原くんも下級生に悪い影響を与えないよう常に襟を正していてくださいね。
わかりました。努力します。
Keiichi, what she means is that textbooks aren't the only thing you learn from. As a member of the class and also an older student, you have to be a good example. I know that already. After that, Chia-sensei brought us to an empty classroom and showed me where my desk would be. Since we're all still growing, I'm sure our sizes are very different. There are some desks that are way too small for me to even put my legs under, and also some that are just perfect for me. There are approximately 30 desks in here, but since all the different grades are in the same room, I'm sure it's very lively. There's also a wall full of calligraphy and art from different grades. It's all pretty exciting, nothing like my previous school. It reminds me of the days when I truly enjoyed my school life.
父さん、俺気に入ったよ。やっぱり町の学校よりこっちの学校の方がいいや。
I think my son likes it here. I want him to go to this school too.
そうですか。沖宮の学校の方が設備もちゃんとしていますし、立派な先生方もたくさんおられますのに。
Even while saying that, Chia-sensei looked happy to hear that a new student would be transferring into her class. My father and the teachers went back to the teacher's office to get the transfer process going. In the meantime, I decided to stay in the classroom and look around. I didn't care about the move. I lost the will to live because of what I did. I didn't have any willpower and I couldn't even get out of bed. So when my parents told me about the move, I thought that wouldn't change anything. But after the move, something did change. I want to restart my life. I want to restart my life and become someone I've always wanted to be. Here in Hinumazawa and at this school, I can do that. I'm not going back to who I was. I'll never again think that good grades are the most important thing in this world. I have a feeling that I can learn the things that are really important in life here at the school. I have never had the chance to learn them before now. It's almost embarrassing to put into words, but they're extremely valuable things, and if you don't learn them, you won't become a decent adult. The students at this school learned them a long time ago. To them, they're a given. Yet I have to spend time learning about them even at this age. How to make friends, how to play with friends. To play, things you can only learn from play. Things like socializing with others, etc., etc. It seems so easy, but it'll take me a while to learn them. I pushed those things aside and devoted myself to studying. I'm not trying to say studying isn't important, but you shouldn't become blinded by it. If someone says studying and good grades are the most important things in life, he's talking bullshit. So I can restart my life here at the school. Finally, I can become someone I've always wanted to be. I noticed two girls looking in at me through the window. The schoolyard must also be a playground for these children, because I saw a lot of them playing there earlier. I guess those two noticed me walking around the classroom and became curious. I guess that's natural. I'm a stranger to them. Can I say hello and let them know that I'm starting school next Monday?
ようやく引っ越してきたのです。僕は待ち疲れたのですよ。
Let me guess, Hanyu?
ああ。
Are these in continuity, chat, or are these just like Rika and Hanyu going through fragments?
でもこれでまた変わってくるのです。だって圭一はサイコロの6なのですから。6ではありますですが、圭一の振るサイコロは1がよく出上がりますです。はあ、圭一が悪いわけではありませんのです。全部羽生が悪いのです。お前のせいなのです。圭一に謝れなのです。
俺の名前を知ってるのか？
She said my name, didn't she? Did I hear her wrong? I've never met her before.
ニパー。圭 校生なのですか？
ああ、よろしくな。前原圭一ってんだ。今度の月曜から来ることになると思うぜ。仲良くしてくれよな。
はあ、仲良くしましょうなのです。圭一に古出神社の巫女さんがありがたいお告げなのです。転校初日は教室の扉が鬼門なので入るときは注意なのです。あと椅子の背中に画鋲、机の中にはカエルのおもちゃまで入ってます。でも何度警告しても圭一は何度でも引っかかるのです。月曜日はかわいそかわいそうなのです。
だから面白いのだけれど、たまにはそんな運命も打ち破ってみて。あなたがそれを教えてくれるのよ。あまたの世界の一つでね。
は？
I'll be reminded of the prophecy made by the two girls next Monday because of the actions of a snaggletooth girl. I'll realize it too late though, but I like it here. My name is Keiichi Marubara. This is my new beginning, and this time I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. I've been missing out on so much, but I'm going to learn all those things here. I'm going to absorb all of it, and I'll become someone I've always wanted to become. It may take a very long time, but I'll definitely do it. Believe it! Well, well, well. We are in the last fragments. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. But finally, I'm at the starting line, beginning from zero at last. Yet, seeing all these colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless, but I was wrong. Rika Frude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Idia Institute because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Idia Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maebara family moved to Hinamizawa. Now she wasn't certain that the Maebara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the properties for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was the trigger for the Maebara family's move. It took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realized that meeting Keiichi's father at that field was the cause. Keiichi Maebara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He is the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him there, or here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mio Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Satuka and Satoshi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on this night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Orio Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Orio Sonozaki understood. Orio herself had become to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it, but she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from the outside. That was why the lots went on sale, so the Maebara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Orio hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi wouldn't have come. And Rena Ryugu, who provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maebara, was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maebara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Rena Ryugu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rena was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. Their game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Rena Ryugu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Rule Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands met only because they reached from both sides. Keiichi and Rena are the ones who taught me that. Mion is the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Irie is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Satoko, he is the most influential piece on the board we call Hinamizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. Keiichi and Rena's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Irie, who has the strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Irie held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is in fact an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, can we win against Takano's will? Bro, I got like fucking allergies or something. I'm like hella congested. I've seen Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. What? Okay. The weight of our game pieces are different because I've given up on fighting while she has been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Oishi once showed the possibility of becoming a strong ally, but he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend, so until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Rena constitute a chance to change fate, maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late, far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final rule, Rule Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. Okay. Do we just go in order from here? I don't think so, right? Oh, I guess we can. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost gave up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Marubar defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. In order for Keiichi Marubara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friend. He doesn't know just yet. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Marubara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyu, you didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral, tragically he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary, and as his first steps towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that though. That was Onikakushi. Okay, and then this is Sumi Horoboshi. This game piece has a very important meaning for us. Alright, this was a cinema chapter, because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of June 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board, Rule X, head on. The hell, there's like some fucking voice lines in the background. We're using everything we've learned so far from the other fragments which prove we can defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Marubara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as the Hinamizawa syndrome and dance in tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. Okay. Watanagashi. We gotta keep fucking flashbanging? This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse or the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X, mistaking it for Rule Y, is hurled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside from the game's point of view. She dislikes Satoko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important. Challenges Rule X, and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly, and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Miyakashi. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi Marubara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. And as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonzaki learned by gambling her life. But now I think that it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. Alright. Tatari Goroshi. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko, and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gain through an erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Marubara learned that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. What? Just started with some fucking... Oh boy. Mina Goroshi. This bitch. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika Furude lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Marubara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Marubara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat our conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z and then challenged the final rule, Rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought out its best, but the strength of our enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy, she squished us completely and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again. With a will stronger than Takano. But you think of giving up several times? Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there, we can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces and let's collect miracles. Please give me your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Oh boy. Matsuribayashi. Oh, baby. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. So I'm pretty sure this is where the chapter starts, by the way. Like, we just got to the start of the chapter. I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. We have 13 hours on this chapter already, and that was just a prologue. Oh my god. Oh. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The Schrodinger's fragment. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will exist or disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same piece lined up the same way on the game board. And the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Minagoroshi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Until I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look. Just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. Oh, new one. Leftover fragments. Do you need the final miracle? What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Himatsubushi fragment. Himatsubushi. Which one is that one? Is that even one of the chapters? Oh, that's chapter 4. Oh, okay, so this might be the Akasaka one, because this is the Rika one. This fragment was distorted from the beginning, and look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furuta and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Beep. Zzz. With some mild interference, an order crackled through their headsets.
室長からありがたいお言葉があるぞ。傾注しろ。
ご苦労さん。所轄署は15分くれることになってる。秒で制圧しろ。一人ターゲットの一人は外交官だ。警察だと悟られるな。有無を言わせず身柄を確保しろ。ただし間違っても危害を加えるな。外交問題に発展するぞ。
外交官特権で地元暴力団と癒着している芸道どもだ。
They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Normally, this would be a simple case. What would the perpetrators being gangsters? But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Forces classified radar and missile technology secrets. Ooh. The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. Oh, what? Hold up, chat. Okay. I'm ordering dinner. Alright. And today was the day that operation was set to go.
正面は階段前に2人
Badass bro, I haven't eaten anything all day again. Leave me alone.
地下入り口に2人裏口に4人全員体重の可能性大普段より2人多いなあの人にとっちゃ2秒余計にかかるだけさ容赦ねえからなあの人
聞こえるか赤坂
Oh, there he is.
お前が切り込み隊長だ用心してかかれよし開始しろ
赤坂了解作戦を開始する
Oh shit. A man suddenly appeared around a corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him.
ここ会員制お兄さん会証ある
Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card.
赤坂さん地上の護衛突破地下階段を降りてます
頼むぞ赤坂
At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of
いら
evil.
っしゃいませ会員証を拝見いたします
The guard at the door entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep! An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep, beep.
赤坂さん手間取ってます
まさかカードの認証が変えられたか赤坂にトラブルが発生したら作戦変更するぞ赤坂の安全を速攻で確保しろ
Expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. Dour? His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up.
お待たせしましたどうぞお通りください
Guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open that door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that.
赤坂入り口確保作戦開始
Complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door too. The ground level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would have become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that the tension shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The 2 guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him, so he didn't need to check it with his eyes, but even so... His fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low, and that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling and shortly afterward came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer.
赤坂突入する。
おい待て、後続と合流しろ。赤坂。
The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed a brouhaha at the entrance.
全員床に伏せろ。
As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, his screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence, but all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once and then started again and then ran after them like a wolf. Oh my god, breathing technique. He jumped up on the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent, but Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack, but it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches were so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arms warped in a strange way, and the moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he had has built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their move from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time, he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken, but Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive right blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized that there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths.
全員床に伏せて頭の上で手を組め抵抗すると命の保証はしない
Thanks to Akasaka's furious actions, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling.
私に触れる良くないです。外交問題になりますよ。
Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall.
あなた警察ですか？不逮捕特権あります。私は外交官です。
そりゃよかったな。
Oh.
給料いくらだ？
これ外交問題になります。大使館へ連絡させてくだ。
With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Holy Holy shit, Akasaka, the guy's dead! Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of that head, and soon enough, Akasaka had pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor.
赤坂ターゲット確保
Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the club, they would have escaped. Or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired.
急げ地元警察が来るぞ全員を荷台に押し込め
Since a foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. The diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said that Pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a person non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with them. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things a regular police couldn't deal with.
赤坂は無事か応答しろ赤坂
こちら赤坂撤収中
また無茶をしやがって後で出張にこってり絞られろ
やっぱり鬼だな赤坂さんはよ秒殺で5人撃墜だぜ
ありゃあ絶対空手の域を超えてるな赤坂さんの鉄拳はすでに狂気だね
しかし連中銃を抜かなかったのはラッキーだったよな赤坂さん躊躇ねえからな蜂の巣にしてたかもしれないぜ
聞こえてるぞ人を殺し屋みたいに言うな俺は悪党に容赦しないだけだ
The pigs he had just caught were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fists was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be.
豚どもを荷台に詰め込め赤坂急がせろ所轄署に通報が入ってるぞ
赤坂了解聞こえたな撤収を急げ
了解主任どうぞ要治療が5名手配をお願いします
There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's old naivety. He had grown to be the vigilante ace of his department. What's with the music, man? Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with smell of sweat and mold. The dojo was located in the middle of the downtown in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka, but this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch. It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered, and the dust welled up in the air. It was a perfect blow embodying the concept of one strike, one kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas. Then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows.
赤坂さんって 警察に勤めてるって噂だぜ。
マジかよ。あんな人が警官やってるなら、俺は悪いことする気なんか起きねえぜ。しかし、赤坂さんも集中力がすげえよな。あの人疲れるってことを知らねえぜ。
On his day off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and they silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. Bro, he actually doing breathing techniques. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such a singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realms of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment, and what we've learned is that there is no one way to reach it, and a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose.
噂にあの人、奥さん死んじゃってるらしいんだよ。それを忘れるために空手を始めたって噂だぜ。
あれ？俺が聞いた話は違うぜ。任務中に女の子を救えなかったとかなんとかで、それで自分の無力さを痛感したとかなんとか。
おい、聞こえてるぞ。人の噂話なんかしてないで稽古をしろ。
おっす。
There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon.
赤坂さん、俺たち弁当買ってきますけど、赤坂さんのも買ってきましょうか。
助かる。何でもいいぞ。頼む。
Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building.
人の話なんかしやがるから。
But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he couldn't feel the cool air, if just a little. Just as I said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Of course, losing against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too. But more than that, the pain from Yuki's death was what made him start. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shichibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamazawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return she wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi and called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was a turning point in his life. If he had believed what she had predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamazawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continue to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamazawa that he heard about from Oishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, but it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done. So in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently so that if same thing is to happen again, he will be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything is already over. Yuki's died in an accident, Hinamazawa was destroyed in the gas disaster, and Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. Shit. I was too obsessed with Yuki's death. and couldn't hear the girl's plea for help. No, if I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yuki's accident too. Damn it. Damn it. Shit. As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he had never thought of praying to gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing. Oh my god, time travel Akasaka? Akasaka 1v1 against the fucking, the mountain dogs? At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance. As if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training and his brain was lacking oxygen, but he couldn't take his eyes off of the shrine.
ありがとう、赤坂。あなたの思いが私たちにはとても必要だった。
Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him.
私たちが奇跡を願い、あなたも奇跡を願わなければ奇跡は起こらない。だって奇跡は全員が願わなかったら起こらない。双方が手を伸ばし合わなかったら届かない。
He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very, very important.
もしあなたも望んでくれるなら、あなたに奇跡を、私たちに奇跡を。それは欠けたかけらを結び合わせ、より大きな大きなかけらを生み出すきっかけになる。 あなたのたった一つの決意が全員の思いや運命に大きな影響を及ぼすこともあるのだから。
あの時にもう一度
Question is, does he keep his memories?
うん。そんなこと、私にできるのは気づかせることだけ。
Oh, it's fucking useless, Hanyu, you worthless motherfucker.
一つのかけらだけでは学べないことを、他のかけらで学んだことを。
Wait, okay. I mean, this might still be useful.
だから、この欠けたかけらをあるべきところへ戻すだけ。それでもきっと大きな奇跡。もっとも、その奇跡をあなたはきっと 気づかないだろうけれど。
Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking for your help. Finally reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No, please help us. Oh, shit. Wait. Oh, now we start. Now that we've gotten that fragment, it re-cracks to redo it. Ah. It was long. It really was long. That's what she said. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that can go up against Takano and her minions in the Game of Fate in June of 1983? I think maybe. We have everything. And last but not least, Hanyu, it's you. The time you have left to be a piece is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I've put in hundreds of years just for this moment. We are in the final fucking straight, baby. Achievement. It's all coming together. Someone once suggested that believing in is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, you must gamble. She didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She had been running, trying not to get involved in any type of match because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, okay, food's almost here. I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning this game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance on a scale tips with just a light little weight. The big heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it wouldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win, so I didn't bet my coin, but that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I've been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was there just to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. This is probably fucking Hanyu's bitch-ass fraud alert, motherfucker. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, or should I be a bystander? Nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. Yeah, of course you think that way, Fries, because this fucking new rat emote looks just like you. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed.
はい、皆さん、朝のホームルームを始めますよ。おしゃべりはおしまいです。委員長、号令、起立、礼。おはようございます。着席。
Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Chia-sensei normally arrives in the classroom right away, but she's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? The rumors were already stirring about the fuck, bitch? Don't tell me this guy doesn't know where my house is. The fucking instructions say leave it at the door. What do you mean? Fucking calling me and saying, hi, I'm here? Like, what do you mean? Just leave it at the fucking door. The rumors were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Chia-sensei gave a cue, and a girl peeked in the room timidly.
新しい転校生の古出羽生さんです。今日から皆さんと一緒にお勉強することになりました。
Oh, Hanyu's finally locked in, huh? The voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and filled the classroom.
フルであれリカちゃんの親戚なの そうなのですよ。僕の遠縁の親戚なのです。もう私もびっくりでございますのよ。リカに親戚がいたなんて知りませんでしたわ。
いやいや、おじさんも知らなかったよ。まあ御三家筋は結構ややこしいからね。私の知らない縁石がい
And
た
nobody
として
sees
も
the weird ass
あり
horns
え
she
ない
has
こ
on
と
her
じゃない
head?
よ。
でもやっぱりリカちゃんの親戚だよね。はう、かいいよ。
All my classmates have gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rika-chan is rather carefree, but this Hanyu seems like the complete opposite. She's more like a shy woodland animal, the exact type that Rena loves. Look, see? Rena is ready to swallow her whole.
では羽生さん、自己紹介をしてください。皆さんは静かに聞くように。はい、それでは羽生さん、どうぞ。
Chia-sensei left the podium and encouraged Hanyu to take over. Oh, that's a cute outfit, though. Wait, low-key, Hanyu got the best fit. What? Okay, the skirt's a little short, though, Hanyu. What did you say? Like, that shit's, like, barely covering your fucking ass. I won't be honest. The skirt's a little short. Even greater pressure of the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's very nerve-wracking to watch, though.
フルで羽生と言いますのです。その、リカの親戚なのです。
Say ow ow one more time, motherfucker.
僕の親戚なのですよ。みんな仲良くしてあげてほしいです。
Hey, nobody's gonna mention the horns? Rika-chan can tell that she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair, which is why I decided to make it more lively.
リカちゃんと同じフルデさんなんだね。顔、フルデさんが2人になっちゃった。
It's Japan, pal. Everyone thinks it's a cosplay. This is 1983, motherfucker! Nobody, like, you think cosplay was all over the place in 1983?
なら、羽生さんでいいじゃありませんの。
Yes? Cosplaying became a trend in Japan during the 1980s. Fuck. The term was coined in 1984. Ah, wait! You were wrong! Cosplaying wasn't a term until 1984, which is a year after Hinamizawa. Doesn't mean it didn't exist. I mean, she's a trendsetter, buddy.
フルデさんって呼んだら、リカも振り返ってしまいましたよ。
We generally call each other by our first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by our first name too.
なら決まりだね。今日からあんたのことは羽生って呼ぶよ。私はクラス委員長の園崎ミオン。ミオンでいいからね。北条聡子でございます。よろしくですわよ、羽生さん。
I'm Daiki Tomita. My parents run a tofu shop. Please come by anytime. I'm Suguru. Suguru? Geto? Suguru Okamura. Please ask me if you don't know anything.
こんにちは。仲良くしようね。何年生？
Our classmates fell over each other to introduce themselves. Everyone tried to get her to remember their names so as they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was, and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her.
そうだね。早くクラスに馴染めるようにしてあげないとね。
そっか。レナも去年は転校生だったんだよな、確か。レナも転校してきた時は緊張したか。
うん。でも、みーちゃんたちがすごく親切にしてくれたから、すぐに馴染めたんだよ。
まあね、ニューカマーを迎えるのも御三家の大切な仕事だからね。
都合のいい時だけ御三家になるなお前は。でもミオンなんかに世話になって馴染めたってのは確かにそうだ。
ならってことになるんじゃないかな。
そうだな。レナだって転校生だったのに、その次に来た俺に世話をしてくれなら、今度は俺が新しい転校生に親切にする番ってことだな。
A new student always dramatically changes the atmosphere of a class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyu during lunch break.
それでは羽生への質問は一人一個ずつだからね。彼女の本質に迫るディープな質問をズバリ言ってみよう。さあさあ、一番は誰？
The fuck is wrong with the horns?
好きな食べ物は何ですか？甘いお菓子はみんな大好きなのです。一番好きなのはシュークリームなのですよ。
Ooh, cream puffs are good.
あら、それ私も大好物でしたよ。沖宮に美味しい洋菓子のお店がありますの。今度案内して差し上げましたよ。
はいはい、男ども聞こえたね。羽生の好感度を稼ぐにはシュークリームだよ。安いやつより高級店の高くて美味しいやつが効果的。さあ次の質問は誰かな。ないならおじさんが今日の下着の色とか聞いちゃうよ。
I mean, considering how short her fucking skirt is, you could probably just look at it, Mion. Like, everyone kept asking Hanyu questions. She looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for a new student. I remember this exactly how my first day went. Mion and Satoko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. I noticed Rena watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She's probably remembering her first day too.
レナも転校してきた時を思い出してるのか？
What if Rena recognizes her? Because she's seen Oyashiro-sama before.
他のことを考えてたな。羽生をお持ち帰りする算段でもしてるんだろう。
そんなこと考えてないよ。羽生ちゃんがシュークリームが大好きなこととか、レナのうちに美味しいシュークリームがあるんだよ、食べにおいでとか全然考えてないんだよ。お持ち帰り。
明日からいきなり不登校になったら、こりゃレナのせいに違いないな。
そんなのひどいよ。
As we watch Hanyu and our classmates have fun, Rena and I laugh together.
ねえケイチくん、なんだか嬉しいね。
嬉しいよな、新しいクラスメートを迎えるのは。
そうじゃなくて、この子たまに見かけてた気がするの。
Oh, I knew it!
羽生か？引っ越し前の下見とかで来た時とかかな。レナって記憶力いいな。
そういうのじゃなくて、羽生ちゃんはもっと前からいて、レナたちのすぐ近くで
I knew
みんな
it!
で遊んでるのをずっと見てた気がするの。ずーっと。あれ？レナだけ？ケイチくんも気づいてたよね。
いや、俺は全然見たことはないんだが、レナは面識があるってことなのか？
From what I can see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyu. She's been that close to us, like Rena said. It's impossible that none of us would remember her.
気のせいじゃねえのか？第一、羽生は転校生なんだぜ。村にそんなにしょっちゅういたはずないじゃないか。
そうかな。たまに見かけたような気がするんだけどな。
気のせい気のせい。羽生だってついさっき、転校前は遠くに住んでたって言ってたじゃないか。
でもレナは見たんだけどな。
Rena looked like she was trying to remember more. Probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it is the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before.
別にどうでもいいだろ。今はここにいるんだからさ。
そうなんだよね。あんなにもレナたちの輪の中に入りたそうにしていたから、仲間に加われてよかったねって。
Rena smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika-chan was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked that way. But as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it. Fucking Satoko, ruining everything. No wonder Satoshi left you, bitch. These are the words that signal the best time of the school day. As soon as the last period ended, my classmates ran out of the room. Hanyu was popular all day today. She's Rika-chan's age, so all the lower grade students gathered around her. Older students like me and Mion didn't have a chance to get close to her.
まあクラスとしてはさ、こわもての上級生が転校してくるよりは自分たちと同い年くらいの可愛い転校生の方が嬉しいだろうしね。
圭一くん、最初の頃は緊張してたのか、なんだか怖そうな顔してたもんね。
おいおい、そりゃひどいぜ。俺だってクラスに早く馴染もうとフレンドリーに接してたってのによ。
どこがフレンドリーでございましたの？私、転校してきて早々にいきなり圭一さんにデコピンを食らってますのよ。
それは転校初日の教室デビューの出花をトラップでくじかれたからだろうが。しかも椅子の背には画鋲で、机の中にはカエルまで入ってたぞ。
転校生が職員室にいると聞いて様子を見に行った時、だからサトコが緊張をほぐしてやろうと思ったに違いないのです。ひなみ沢の先輩として気を利かせて差し上げたんでしたよ。
絶対それだけはありえねえな。
Although that blackboard eraser trap sure did help to ease my tension. Satoko will be so pleased with herself if I tell her that, so I'll never admit it.
羽生ちゃんはみんなと帰ったね。放課後は誰と遊ぶか今頃引っ張りだこなんじゃないかな。
でもやっぱり初日は疲れるもんだよな。きっと帰ったらバタンキューだぜ。
違いありませんわね。
さてさて皆の衆、このところ私のバイトのせいでだいぶ長いことご無沙汰だったね。部活メンバーの招集だ。
待ちかねてましてよ。ご無沙汰が過ぎると鈍ってしまいましたよ。誰かの罰ゲームをかわいそしないと僕も退屈してしまいますです。はうー、レナは負けないんだよ。久しぶりだから手加減なんかしないんだよ。
どうやらみんな欲求不満でだいぶエネルギーを持て余してたようだね。そうでなくちゃおじさんも叩き潰す甲斐がないってもんだよ。
やる気満々みたいじゃねえか。だがな、あいにく俺の今日の調子は絶好調だ。しくじったなミオン。今日もバイトに行ってた方が良かったと後悔することになるぜ。
Mion's had to work quite a bit lately because her uncle's shop is short on staff. So we haven't done any club activities for a long while. For us, club activities are the main reason we come to school. In a way, we live for these few hours after school. If there are no club activities, there's no point in coming here at all. So it only makes sense for us to be excited about getting to have a meeting again.
こりゃ生半可なゲームじゃみんなの渇きを癒せそうにないね。何のゲームで料理してやろうかね。
Mion looked into the club locker. I'm always curious about what's in that locker and how much of it how much of it there is. I swear there's more in there than it can realistically hold. Just then, we heard the door open.
あれ？羽生ちゃん？こんにちはなのです。あら、どうなさいましたの？忘れ物でございますの？
I thought she had already gone home. Did she forget her lunchbox or something? It's not that big of a deal to forget a textbook, but you can't forget a lunchbox.
羽生、どうしたの？なんか探し物？
Hanya looked at us apologetically. What is it? Are we in the way? She kept staring at us timidly. Are we sitting in Hanyu's seat? No, that's not it.
どうしたの羽生ちゃん？何か困りごとかな？
Rena talked to her, but there was no communication to be had. Almost like trying to have conversation with a stray cat. What is this? Hanyu was fixated on something. I followed her gaze and found Rika-chan. Hanyu's apologetic gaze was directed at Rika-chan.
僕は何も言いませんです。羽生がそうしたいなら自分のお口で言うと良いのです。
With that, I finally figured it out. Hanyu wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it, so she wanted Rika-chan to say it for her. Rika-chan told her to say it herself. In other words, we need to listen to what Hanyu has to say. We patiently waited for Hanyu to speak up. But when I think about what happened this morning, I realize this kind of silence makes her even more nervous. Rena, noticing that, talked to her in a sweet tone of voice.
どうしたの、羽生ちゃん。レナにこっそり話して。相談に乗ってあげるよ。お、何？もう一回言って。
That's not English! Rena raised her voice.
何よ、おじさんにも教えてよ。何なのよ一体。
本当にいいの？どうしたんでございますの？もごもご言われては気持ちよくありませんでしたよ。僕も部活に混ぜてもらいたいのです。
Hanyu said it loudly as if to shake off her embarrassment.
こりゃまだ驚いた。どこで誰におじさんたちのことを聞いたのやら。
僕も入れてほしいのです。僕も部活に混ぜてほしいなのです。よく自分で言えましたです。パチパチパチ。
Rika-chan must have known that Hanyu wanted to join the club all along. Mia folded her arms with a smile and stared at Hanyu as if appraising her. Needless to say, Hanyu was intimidated.
自分から好んで七に飛び込みたがるとは。でもね、うちの部活はそんじょそこらのおままごととは違うんだ。選ばれた者が試練をくぐり抜けた末にようやく入部を許される入れてください。はい、そうですかってわけにゃいかないね。
羽生ちゃん、みーちゃんの部活は見てる分にはとっても楽しい。大変なんだよ。覚悟の上なのです。勝って当然。負けたらとんでもないことになってしまいますのよ。その覚悟は終わりですこと。僕も負けないのですよ。それに
Anya swallowed once and said what was on her mind. It sounded like a big thing to say for her, as though it had a much deeper meaning.
かつての僕は負けるのが嫌で全ての勝負から逃げていましたのです。でも逃げることは負けることにすら劣ること。負ける痛みにくじけず戦い続けて初めて勝ちを得られるのだと教えてもらいましたの。羽生
When Mion realized that, although she looks timid, Hanyu is actually very courageous. She grinned. Looks like she's grown fond of her.
へえ、なかなかどうして。どうだよミオン、せっかくだから試してやったらいいじゃねえかよ、入部試験。
我が部にふさわしいかどうか、最低数週間の観察を経てようやく受けられる入部試験を。さてどうしたものか。
Mion pretended to be stubborn, but in reality she was simply playing with her. If she actually didn't want her to join, she would have refused her right away. Of course, if Hanyu was bothered by this kind of intimidation, she wouldn't be able to survive in this club.
レナとサトコが今うちの部は厳しいよ。勝って当然。狙うは1位のみ。間違って最下位になった日にゃ生まれてきたことを後悔するような大変な目に遭わされるんだよ。
でも僕も頑張るのです。でも罰ゲームだってとっても楽しいんだよ。
Hanyu-chan, you've been watching the whole time, huh? You've been wanting to join for the longest time, huh? I got the feeling that Rena had just mumbled something like that.
ミオン、 もったいぶらないで試してやればいいじゃねえかよ。俺だってそいつをくぐって入部を許可されたはずだぜ。
そうですわよ。一つ羽生さんの腕っぷしを見てやろうじゃありませんの。羽生ちゃん頑張ろう。レナは手加減しないからね。僕だって手加減しないのです。僕は羽生にだけ手加減しないのです。
よーし、フルで羽生、あんたに我が部の入部試験を許可するとなりゃ、話は羽生にも分かるゲームにしてあげないとね。どれがいいかな。おこいつがいいかな。
Mion threw a deck of cards onto the desk. Does this mean?
誰でも分かるゲームでいこう。トランプのジジ抜きはどうかな。
望むところなのです。
Here she goes is exactly what I had to endure when I went through this entrance exam. This is the marked tile deck.
なかなか威勢のいい返事でございますわね。でも我が部のジジ抜きは一味違いましてよ。
Most of the cards have scratches on the back, so by memorizing scratches, you can tell what card it is. In other words, the more you've played this game, the better you are at it. This is simply our way of being mean to newcomers.
羽生ちゃん、頑張ってね。これは試練なんだよ。カイト、王なのです。
This sure brings back memories. I had to go through this too. It just happened recently, but I still feel so nostalgic.
だがそれと手加減は別の事件だぜ。あの時みんなが手加減なしで全力で俺を叩き潰してくれたように、俺も全力で叩き潰してやるからな。なあみんな、
お覚悟なさいませですわよ、羽生さん。
さあさあ、部活メンバーの末席を望むなら、それにふさわしいかを自ら示してみな。
はいなのです。
And with that, that's where we wrap up for today on that club activity. Yes, sir. We're just getting serious. Hey, listen, tomorrow will probably be...
Really, I just got here.
Tomorrow will probably be our last Higu stream until we're done with Resident Evil 9. But I don't foresee Resident Evil 9 taking us that long. I think we'll probably be done with that in a day or two. Probably maybe 3. We'll see. All right. Now we are gonna power through Resident Evil 9. I don't think we have any really big releases either coming up, right? Luke is tomorrow, so like it's whatever, you know. And then once we're done with that, there's like I don't think anything else coming up, so should be pretty good. I'll see y'all tomorrow, chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. You're not beating this in under a week. How about you eat my ass, pussy? Good night, everybody.